Hi, thanks for coming back to A's for Addict. This is my life story if you haven't been here before, through addiction, 20 years plus, and then ending with sobriety. So let me get into it from the end of the last book. The last book was book 14. I had let you know that I had moved in with this girl, my new relationship, her name was Annika. We moved in together and we were staying in Brackendown. I was traveling by taxi to work every day and it became a bit of an inconvenience. It was from Brackendown to L Road, so I decided I was going to buy a small 125 scooter just to get to work and back, which I did. The end of the 1 month came. I think it was 6.5 that I had to buy it for. I bought it, they delivered it to my work, and yeah, it made things much easier. I was able just to go down to work and come home and go up to my sister and come home. But it also made it easier for me to drug, because now it was easier for me just to take a drive through to the dealer and go get drugs. So this carried on for a little while. I'm not sure if we even had that scooter for 1 month, but with all the using again, one morning I went through to Rosettenville and I pawned the scooter for 3,000 rand. And the reason I pawned it wasn't just for drugs. I had not paid the rent the previous month. I paid short, so I thought, okay, if I pawn the scooter, I can pay the balance on the rent that I owed, because we were being threatened with eviction. I'll pay that and then I'll have a couple of rand. I can do drugs with that. And then as it so happens, the way I always speak about, the devil's got a watchful eye. I pawned it and I was walking out of the pawn shop up through Rosettenville to catch a taxi back home. And one of the dealers that I used to buy from, actually my main dealer at the time that I used to buy from, came driving past and stopped next to me and asked me if I need a lift. Obviously I never got out of Rosettenville that day. That 3,000 rand that I had, I spent it all on the drugs, so I couldn't pay the rent. I went back, I don't even know when I went back, if it was the next day or the day after, but by the time I did get back we had been evicted. I was told to take my things and get out. Annika obviously couldn't stand for that either. I was in the process of messing her life up as well, so she packed her things and she moved back to the commune where she used to stay, obviously without me. I think, if I can remember right, this is the time when everything went really, really bad for me. This is when I started living in Rosettenville, not just buying my drugs there. If I can remember correctly, I must have gone down to Rosettenville that day that I had been evicted, because I had nothing now. I had been kicked out. I don't remember exactly the exact move, how it happened. If my sister was involved trying to help me, I don't remember. It's possible that she could have been. But I remember going to Rosettenville and started using, and then sleeping at the Nigerians' houses and using the next morning and hanging around with everybody that was making plan. I still had not been be able to mission and make the plans that people make for their drugs. I'd always relied on other people, even though I was such a heavy user. Besides stealing from family and lying about things to get money from people, it's the only way I could get money. I never knew how to do anything else. And then when I was in Rosettenville, I met this guy. His name is Glenn. I met Glenn and we started hanging out together, also using. He was a heroin user as well and a crack cocaine user, but unlike me, I think he used to inject. I never used to inject, but we became big friends. And we used to hang around together, and he used to support me. He used to go and make the plans for the drugs and whatnot, and he used to come back and bring drugs for me to take, and obviously I was quite happy with that. I used to do it, although it became not enough for me. During this timeline, myself and Glenn both ended up at Hands of Compassion Rehabilitation Center. I just wanted to mention it because we had been there together, and we also had left, but not at the same time. We didn't leave at the same time, but we were there. I saw him at Hands of Compassion. But anyway, we became friends in Rosettenville, and then eventually I think it became too much for him to keep on supporting me, so it was basically said, or it came out that I had to start making my own plan. And I never really knew how to do this. Now, if you don't know, if you're not an addict, you're just somebody dealing with addicts. There are many ways that an addict makes money when they're staying on the street. I mean, there's the guy that you see on the street corners begging, you know. Then you'll get the guy that you'll meet in the shops that'll be asking you for baby milk or groceries. They're hungry. You don't have to give them money. You can just buy them food. Those guys walk out the shop with you and go back and sell it back to the shop. So don't be fooled. Same as the baby milk. They take the baby milk and they sell it to the Pakistani shops or to the other little shops and get their money back. So don't be fooled. The other scam is they say they just need money for shelter. They've got half. They only need the other half for the night so that they can have a place to stay. It's also a scam. There's so many things. We've even gone as far as at a make-believe bachelor party where we've stood at the corner and the one guy's dressed up, you know, the way they dress up with a nappy and all of that, saying he's getting married to get money. There's so many different ways that the addict does it. Unfortunately, my nature, I was very introverted, so I didn't have that in me to approach people and go for, you know, that type of thing, or try and hustle money. I unfortunately wasn't able to do that, so I was left with basically one option and that option was to become a shoplifter, and that's what I started doing. I started shoplifting to support my habit. So it wouldn't be just shoplifting anything that was unnecessary for me. From the very beginning, I knew that colognes is the thing that sells, and I knew whether there was a buyer for colognes, so that would be my thing. I'd go to the shops, Edgar's or Dischem or Truworths, any of these places that sell upmarket colognes, you know, like you know, all the colognes, Isimiyaki and Pakaraban and Dunlop and all of those. And yeah, so we used to go into the shops and steal the cologne, sometimes 2 at a time, mainly at Edgar's. Edgar's knows me well. I've got persona non grata at a lot of the Edgar's for all the times that I've been caught, because as a shoplifter I wasn't very good. Although I became good at shoplifting, but again, consequences didn't matter. So going to the same shop twice, 3 times a week doing the same thing obviously becomes a bit obvious, and they start seeing it, and so you get caught. So I was arrested many times for shoplifting. You know, in the mornings it would probably be what we'd usually do in the morning, waking up at a Nigerian's house, is walk down to the Checkers that's in Rosettenville and steal a box of grandpas. With a box of grandpas we could get 50 rand or maybe 80 rand, and with that we could at least get our first hit of heroin to take away the withdrawals. After having that hit of heroin, you'd feel normal again, you'd feel okay to mission, you'd feel ready, and then you'd go out and shoplift for your crack or for heroin during the day. This became a daily routine, Monday to Sunday. It's all that would happen. You'd wake up in the morning, get your first drug, go out, get your others, and that's all would happen from morning till night for years and years and years. This continued. The amount of times that I was arrested, I can't tell you. I was arrested, I was sent to Boksburg jail, I was arrested, I was in Sun City, I was arrested, I've been to Devon prison, I've been to Magalieswood police station, I had to sit there, I had to there's so many places, so many jails that I had seen. Look, obviously a lot of times was awaiting trial. I used to give fake names, which even the magistrate eventually realized that no, I recognize you, you know, so even that became something I couldn't do. They started knowing who I was. But yeah, I used to get arrested a lot of times for shoplifting. I paid my dues for that. I did. I got suspended sentences, and eventually I done real time. You know, when I talk real time, I'm not talking real time like 15 years, something like that. I'm talking 6 months, 18 months, 3 months. You know, I done time like that on and off. I mean, every year I had been arrested at some time, or 2 or 3 or 4 times that year. A couple of times let off with a warning until they started to get to know me, and then short sentences, Usually it was the waiting trial that took so long. You go to a waiting trial, sit for a month, go appear in court, they're remanded again, sit for 2 months. So it became an absolute nightmare. That's all my life was about. It was just using and going to jail. At this time, Rosettenville, there was nobody that I was really family-wise and friend-wise. There was no one that I was in contact with. It seems like I think I had given up on myself. I started to believe that there's no way I can manage. This is just who I am, and I might as well just stick with it and carry on doing what I'm doing. I was so close to just giving up. And I won't lie to you if I tell you that I thought about suicide many times. Obviously those times when I thought about it was when I was coming down off the drugs. Not knowing what to do and realizing the mess that I'm in. Because it doesn't drift far from your mind. When you hit those clean moments, you do realize what you've done, where you are, what's happening in your life, and the regret floods in. So that's why it's so easy to pick up that next drug and just quickly use. Everything just gets killed and you don't feel anything. So this carried on for a while. I used in Rosettenville. Even from there, many times I went to rehab. I was in and out of rehabs from Rosettenville as well. Hands of Compassion was one of them. Enoch's Walk was another one of them. Was actually my last one, Enoch's Walk. But many rehabs I had been to. At one stage, I can't remember if I started working again. What happened? I did start working. This friend of mine gave me a job in his company. In a security company. He had so much faith in me and took such a big chance on me. This is Clint. Took such a big chance on me and gave me this opportunity to work for him and even stay at his office that he had. He had a small office not away from his main house. So even let me stay there with the other two guys that were living there working for him. Just doing menial work like running cables or something like that, but just something to help me out, to give me a place to stay. And I think it was in that time, I think I had come clean from rehab and I came out, and this is when he decided to help me. I'm so sorry that I don't remember exactly. It's no use me even trying. I won't be able to get the exact times and dates, so I do apologize for that. But so I started living there. Now, remember, I was doing crack and I was sniffing or snorting heroin, or smoking it. So, and that's all I was doing. And when I moved in there, it just so happened that one of the other guys that was living there was also on heroin. Also done heroin. I don't know if he done as much, but he also done heroin. And he used to inject. So, like I say, I'd given up on my life, and I think at this time I was just, whatever goes. I wasn't really worried about anything. So I said to him, I want to try also injecting. And he injected me the very first time. It was, without glorifying the drug, it was another feeling that I had never felt. It was, unfortunately, with my nature and previously smoking heroin and buttons, the feeling was something that it really got to me. It was something completely different, completely new, and something at a time that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed that low, that down, of coming down and just being calm, and your mind calm, and your emotions just shutting down and not feeling anything. It's like something I needed to not feel. So of that very first time that he injected me, I felt that. I felt my emotions starting to shut down, because I stopped worrying. I stopped worrying about where I am, what's happening. Even not having money to get drugs, it no longer worried me. Not having the money to buy crack, it no longer worried me. I had my shot of heroin. I could just sit down for 3, 4, 5 hours, just relax and be calm. So that was the beginning of the spiking. This carried on for quite a while. We used to jump in the car in the morning, quickly go through to the dealer, come back, use, and then work. This carried on for quite a while. But then eventually something happened. He wasn't there that day. For some reason he wasn't there, or I couldn't wait, or something happened. and I decided to inject myself. And yeah, that was the beginning of me injecting heroin, which would eventually become the bigger drug than crack to me. It would become my everything, and I can tell you right now why. It became my everything because it killed all my feelings. Heroin became everything to me because I didn't have to worry about anything else. I didn't have to worry about anybody. I didn't have to think about anybody. I didn't have to think about the hurt, the pain. I didn't have to think about how happy other people are. I didn't have to think about being hot or cold. I didn't have to think about being in pain or sore for anything. I just didn't have to feel about anything. I could be a functioning zombie and just sit there and live out my days. And if I happened to overdose on heroin, so be it. My life was worthless anyway. So I wasn't worried about that either. And this was the beginning of my heroin use. A lot of hurt and and things go on with this. It's hard. It's hard to see how long my addiction carried on. I mean, I'm talking now over these 15 books that we've written. It's I've skipped so much. I've left so much out, and yet there's so much I could still tell you. There's so many things that come up that I can still mention, which I will. But it hasn't been easy. It's been hard. I mean, it's sometimes I think if was this a good idea to do? What about those people now that have accepted me and speak to me again? What about now when they see these videos? Is it going to also bring up old trauma and old hatred in their hearts for me because now they've seen this? But then I think to myself, how do I feel? And it has alleviated the weight. It has made me feel a whole lot better. But like I say, there's still a lot to come, and that comes with the heroin use and all of that. And we'll get into that in the next book. But let me just say then, thanks for coming back to Ace for Addict. I hope you're getting to see what an addict's mind is like and how we are as people. We're not all bad people, we're not all criminals. We just got a problem with addiction that we battle to get away from. And we need you in our lives. And we regret ever hurting any of you. So come back. I think my next video, I'm just going to make a short one just to talk a little bit about other things besides my journey. I just want to mention a couple of things that we'll speak about in that. That'll be book 16. So thank you for coming. I really enjoyed this time with you. Subscribe, get to know me better, drop a comment, I'll reply to you. And if you're battling out there, let's get through this. Let me help you. Just look at me and see that recovery is it's a possibility, man. You can do it. Those for caring for addicts, take care of them and don't give up on them. Thanks again. Cheers.